Hey chicos, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos a un nuevo Hora Prima, casi en el final del año, y también como para todo el próximo año, el futuro para Aerosmith es brillante por Nine Lives, por un lado, y también por esto que acaba de salir que se llama Walk This Way, que es la biografía oficial de Aerosmith. Así que hay una cosa que, to the future, and this is the past, and in a way the present of the band. Thank you very much for being here, Joe, Steve. Do you get upset about now giving so many interviews and going back to the past because of this book?
You know, somebody just said that reading that book is like, you know, like watching a car crash. You can't not look, even though you drive by and you go, oh my God, what happened? There's a lot of circumstances in there that we actually we take all our 5 different opinions of what happened.
It's interesting to get, you know, 5 different perspectives on one story, where, you know, one story will be examined from 5 different angles, and it's interesting to see how everybody saw it.
We just, you know, babbled a lot into tape recorders, and he put it together. You know, Tom actually did a little writing.
I thought it was fun. You know, we would get in a room with Steve and Davis one by one. He'd put the tape machine on the table, and he'd ask us questions about the past, and everybody gave their impression and their memory of certain things that happened. So it's interesting. There's a lot of different viewpoints. People remember things in a different way.
In this book, there's something very special about the first meeting of Joy and Steven because of the drums. There's a part in here which is we were really amazed. Steven lent you a drum set.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was playing in a band where, you know, one of the things that when I was a kid and I didn't do well in school, because the only thing that I was really interested in was playing the drums and being in my band. And one of the things my father used to do to punish me was take away my drums. But I was so headstrong about it that I went to this guy that who turned out to be Steven, who some guys in my band's brother knew. So it was like third hand, and asked him if I could use his drums for this battle of the bands that we were in. And as it turned out, Steven ended up singing with us a little bit, and that's how we got to know each other for the first time. You know, it was kind of a funny thing. That was a lot of years ago.
I wonder how hard it was to do this, the series of interviews you did, and very personal, very intimate stuff.
For most of us it was easy, you know. There's some people had more difficult stuff they had to relive, but it was fun kind of going over and reliving it and putting it all together and kind of re-experiencing all the things. It's good to take an inventory sort of.
There were times it was really uncomfortable going through it. I mean, you know, certain things that just that happened in years past that we kind of, like, you know, went through and said, okay, well, that's that. You know, to relive it again was kind of hard, but there was also a lot of times it was fun doing.
I was a little leery a couple of times, like when it was time to talk about why the band broke up in '79. You know, because I had to again bring out my viewpoint on what happened, which is the same now as it was then. You know, as far as I'm concerned, and everybody's kind of got their rock solid way about how they remember what led up to that, and they're not all the same. You know, so I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm talking about all these, you know, the flaws in the human relationships, and is it going to boil up again? You know, but everybody took it really well.
Once you get in touch with, like, you know, a certain period of time, things just start to roll. You know, it's amazing what's stored up in your memory, and it was actually, yeah, it was fun. But there's a lot of funny things in the book. Some of them that I didn't even know went on until I read the book.
But more than anything, we wrote the book about, you know, what happened to us, so it wouldn't get out there what other people thought happened to us. Which happens in the career of a rock band is people give their take of what's happening. So you gotta, you know, set the record straight and make sure that the rumors are just right.
How did I get here? You know, really kind of take a hard look at where you are now and how did I get here? And it helps you, puts it in perspective a little bit. I think it helped us in that way.
Always going to redo. I mean, I keep thinking, wow, I didn't put in that
yeah, we can redo it. We can.
In the soft cover or whatever it's called, the paperback.
But then there's different editions. You know, Stephen Davis was telling us that the Led Zeppelin book has had 4 different editions because he keeps adding stuff as, I mean, he wrote that, what, 10 years ago or something? So, you know, it's like an ongoing history. Unlike a book, unlike a record, which is done, you know, you can't really add to it. A book you can keep doing new editions, so you haven't seen the end of it.
I heard about Led Zeppelin, Hammer of the Gods. I don't know which book exactly, but they're gonna take it to the movies. They're gonna put it in
Probably,
the movies.
right?
Really?
Yeah, it's gonna be weird. I mean, the actors, how are they gonna find the actors? Do you see yourself like getting this story, because this is story? So
I definitely, I feel
story. This isn't a story.
I feel stuff bubbling up before it happens, you know, like, and how do I know is because when I do some things, I feel like I've done it before, and maybe it's because I thought about it, but I constantly think that someday there's going to be a movie, you know, I just dread the thought of why, or it doesn't really matter. But I think, you know, the longer that we stick around having a good time being a band, the longer everybody's going to go ooh and ah about the longevity of Aerosmith and the old this and how you've been around forever. It's just about us making more songs and having more fun and playing places we never played before. So that in and of itself is enough to do a movie about, especially if it spans 30 years. I don't think the flame's going to go out. You know, what are we, 20? How many years have we been around here?
Wow.
25 years?
Yes, 25 years. You're celebrating your 25th anniversary. It's 27 actually. It's 27.
Well, it was since 71, you know, or 70.
Okay.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit tense when you're making music.
Yeah,
There's some videos that prove the pump videos, making off.
a little bit tense it gets, you know, but it all gets ironed out.
You know, it's really weird because you sit there and fucking part in there, it feels okay. And the part there, I don't know, I can't. Because when the car goes by and speeding a little, you don't hear it. I don't hear it speeding. Neither does he. You're the only one that hears it. Oh, really? Put the click track on, sit down here, and I'll leave the room. The track is not going to be exactly on the click track. You're not wrong for going past it. It's just the. Well, then what are you moaning about? Because when you bring it back, the track's drags and it's a hole.
When you hear the difference is when it pulls back into the
I don't hear a difference that much where it's going to where it goes like here and then it's going to come back. Joe, you hear a track that's going real exciting and all of a sudden it drags. Okay. No.
We'll just hear it with the click up.
You're not wrong, it's just that it's not right.
It's interesting how the making of Pump led to the book being the way it is, because in the making of Pump we had to make a lot of decisions about, you know, Joey, for instance, saying, okay, I'll leave it in. You know, stuff that's, you know, a little embarrassing, you know, a little uncomfortable to watch. And I think that by making those decisions on that video, it was easier to make some of the decisions we made in the book to include a lot of stuff that doesn't show us in such a great light, you know. I mean, there's the other aspect that shows all the upsides of the band's career, but then you also have the stuff that nobody wants to relive.
There's some footage about the recording in New York of this new album. Footage, like cameras all the time.
Yeah.
You don't feel like Let It Be, Beatles?
No, we didn't have them the whole time. Not like Pump, there was somebody in the room with a camera the whole time. And we didn't do it on this record.
Actually, the 9 live period, the production of the album itself in New York, playing together in a room, it looks like the change from Glenn Ballard to Shirley was a good one. You felt more comfortable, I guess, because of the texture of it.
The thing is, it's like, I mean, there's no like perfect solution. You know what I mean? I think that there were things left behind from the Glenn Ballard sessions that we could have kept. But it's, you know, there's no like perfect solution to things, you know. I think that on the whole, you know, having the whole band play together was a really good thing. I wonder how it would have sounded if everybody had been together in Florida. You know, maybe that would have been the record, but that's not how it played, you know.
What do you remember about Miami Beach, which is a very Latin thing? Which is
I remember the being influenced and under the influence of the sun and birds and the women and just the colors, purples and oranges and reds, and it just had so much. It just my psyche drank that in, and I got drunk from it. I loved it. I loved the women and the colors and the sunshine every day, and it got me to go deeper inside myself. Kiss Your Past Goodbye and Pink, just for the sheer fun of it. I just had a really good time down there, and I really wanted to make that be it. After all, it's like giving birth to the child and denying it its mother. So we went and re-recorded it again. It was kind of like dismissing all that we did in Florida, even though it was pretty much the same arrangements and all that stuff. But, as things went, the weather down there was, Joey had a nervous breakdown, and so we used another drummer, so we really felt like we wanted to get back to the band again and have him play on the tracks and rock it out.
I was exhausted, mentally and emotionally, and it was at a point in time. There was a point in time where a lot of things in my personal life had caught up to me that I hadn't dealt with from the past. One of them being the death of my father, and it kind of all crept up on me, and I went into a really deep depression. And to the point where I really wasn't able to function, and I really couldn't play at all. And we were in the middle of doing pre-production where Tom and I and Brad were at my house rehearsing the new songs. And it got to a point in time where it was time to go into the studio, and I went down to Florida, and I just couldn't do it, and I was really distraught, and I needed to take some time and go away and take care of myself. And so they went in, and had somebody else do the basic tracks, and I was supposed to come in and redo the tracks. But as you can hear, that never really worked out, because when they did the tracks without me, it just it just wasn't right, which I'm pretty happy about, And the whole thing had to get done over again. And now it's the Aerosmith rock and roll album that it has to be.
For myself, we just went through with losing the manager and re-recording and all that. It took its toll on. I'm really in demo land now in my head. It's like I don't want to bother anymore. I want to do the song, put it out, and that's it. Whether anybody likes it or not. It's kind of forced me in that direction. And the thing with the manager was, was very, it was like burying a good friend,
The album is called 9 Lives, and of course the metaphor for me is like the way you survive. Like, even reading this book, I haven't read it entirely, but reading this book, I got like, some guys have been to hell and then back. And how many lives do you have now? 9? You're living the 9th life, the 5th life, or
24th life.
24th.
We've been past the 9 a long time ago.
I think the metaphor kind of blankets the fact that to stay in a band this long, to not raise your middle finger to people and not say that this will take you down, and to walk through the flames and the adversities and the FUs and the people and all the things that sometimes are there in the beginning as a bridge and then they get in your way in the end. But just to go through all of that, you got to have 9 lives. You got to be able to say you're sorry. You got to be able to get out of an ego place. You got to be able to make decisions. You got to be able to see that, I got drunk too much. It took me down and I got no more spirituality. So maybe I won't do that for a while and try that. You got to just have a lot of balls, and lives.
And 9 Lives is also a title of a song. It came before, the idea of, or after the record was done, the idea of the album title, 9 Lives, and then the Cats, and
it came after we, did Taste of India, with that feeling, and Joe, I know Joe shares the love of getting something like that on a record. We hadn't gone down, played that type of Indian feeling, in music, and we actually laid that over the song 9 Lives and Taste of India, and I remember Where the Sun Never Shines. That was great, but didn't make the record. And the Attitude Adjustment's got a little, you know, Indian fling to it, little Kariman, just a bit. And so, you know, the song, the title Nine Lives came actually early in February when we wrote the song, but you know, didn't realize it was the perfect title for the